With the Galactic Republic issuing new war campaigns across the galaxy, various high-ranking Jedi were chosen to lead these endeavors. Adi Mundi was chosen to lead the forces that would fight on Mygeeto. Mygeeto was currently under CIS control. The many bridges and narrow pathways made it ultimately very easy to defend, and it would be difficult to weaken the Separatist grasp on this planet and system. However, the campaign of course also served another purpose, and that was to make the Galactic Empire believe the focus of the Republic was elsewhere until they would let their guard down on Kashyyyk. Now this did not mean that the Mygeeto campaign was entirely pointless. On the contrary, if a large enough section could be captured and held by the Republic, Mygeeto would be an excellent place to build new cloning facilities due to the easy nature to defend it. For this campaign, Adi Mundi would work together with Bacara and his men. Adi Mundi had worked with Bacara before, and together made a great team. There was good trust between the two, and both cared deeply for the clones they led. Adi Mundi would, just like Bacara, often put the lives of his clones before his own, feeling that he had taught most of what he had to offer to his students and the galaxy for his lifetime. All he could offer now were his lightsaber skills and experienced opinion on matters concerning the Jedi Council. With the initial attack on Mygeeto, it was pretty easy to set foot and establish a small hold on the surface. Mygeeto was massive to the point where there was always a bridgehead or platform that was less guarded. Instead of moving forward immediately, the orders were given to dig in, as surely the droids would send out the nearest attack force to deal with it. Only after the clones could manage to hold this attack force, then they would start their expansion over this planet. The bridge in this case would act as a bottleneck. The clones that were stationed at this platform were outnumbered by a large margin. Yet Bacara had faith in his own men, as some were amongst the highest skilled, and no matter how many droids the CIS would send their direction, there was no way for them to flank them. The droids were a bit more concerning, but the Republic armor could hopefully counter that. As the droids made their approach, it did not take long for the clones to take them under fire. The lack of cover on the bridge itself made it to where the clones had perfect visibility on the droids during their pass, whereas they actually could hide behind cover and objects on their platform. Nevertheless, the droids did still try to make themselves smaller, to avoid too many being shot to pieces, to where they would block the bridge and slow down the movement of the army. The initial group of droids that headed over onto the bridge wasn't the entire attack force yet, but from now on the droids would join up in a steady stream of reinforcements. For the clones, it would be a battle of will in the sense that the enemy was coming at them again and again and again, and all they needed was to hold. Eventually, the attack force would run out of droids, though there were so many stationed near this platform and bridge that it sometimes could feel like it was endless. More droids would then surely be called in from further platforms and CIS outposts, but if the clones managed to survive this initial confrontation, they would have been able to secure more areas and make it easier for the Republic to dictate the pace of this war campaign by then. With the initial confrontation between the clones and the droids, it seemed that the droids were not able to reach further than a certain point on the bridge. Yet as more and more arrived, they slowly inched their way towards the Republic side. But at that point, they came into reach of the Republic artillery and the armor. The clones did not have that many artillery pieces installed on the platform, but the ones they did have, and the armor that was initially reserved for the tri-droids, could fire upon the infantry as well. The bridge was sturdy enough to where it could withstand all that punishment. Despite the battle going on for a while now, none of the clones' morale seemed to waver. They were instructed that this battle would last a long time. By now, such a mass of droids had collected at the bridge that it was the easiest thing to hit any target. Some even felt a bit more courageous and headed out of their cover to take the horde of droids head on. But always in the background looming were the tri-droids, and though they moved slowly, they eventually did start to cross the bridge. Now their goal wasn't necessarily to cross all the way, but far enough to where they had a clear line of sight to unleash on the opposing clones. The bridge was by now so full of droids that several were crushed under the legs of the tri-droid. The Republic armor shifted their focus from the infantry to the incoming tri-droid. They themselves started to get bombarded as well, but for now, their outer shield still held. By also combining artillery on the tri-droid, they eventually managed to destroy it, also ridding themselves of many nearby droids in the process. With the battle and bridge defense going on for a while like this, some of the clones' officers went around to collect some info on their losses. The clones had suffered a surprising low amount of casualties thus far. Due to the bottleneck, they expected the defense to be fairly easy, but the results were even better than first thought. When Bacara heard about this, it made him proud of his fighting boys. He also assured Mundi that they could keep this up for a long time. The information about how good they were doing was quickly spread around all the soldiers in their ranks for a boost in morale. But across from them, the bridge also started to look like a droid graveyard, full of broken parts everywhere. Yet, there were still hundreds and hundreds of droids incoming. But the clones' armor was still standing, their artillery was still standing, and their clones were still standing too. By now, more and more of the main attack force had joined on the droid assault, and the bulk was now positioned on the bridge. The increased heat and pressure that was put upon the clones forced those at the edge to duck for cover, while the ones from a higher position could still lay down suppressing fire. Yet despite the increased threat, the fact that now the main force had assembled on the bridge meant that if the clones rid themselves of these droids, that they had won this battle. Other CIS reinforcements would take long enough to where these hard-fighting clones could take a breather and newly arrived ones could handle the expansion on Mygeeto. Some of the clones had already tasted the victory of this initial battle, but they weren't done yet. The initial battle was indeed a huge success, with very low casualties. But it was still a giant mass of clankers they needed to get rid of. But every single clone on that platform had the willpower to go on for as long as was needed. Then, they would take the fight to the CIS.